Youth share with us about their mission work that they did this summer. As a side note, Chelsea, we ask you that you pray for Chelsea. She's sick this morning. That's why she's not here with us. There's something going around and coughing and all of that stuff. And so she wasn't feeling well this morning. But this morning, we're going to have the wonderful privilege of listening first to Allie, and then Brett, and then Claire, and then Jocelyn. So I'm going to ask you guys to come here to the pulpit. And so let us give a hand of appreciation for our youth as they come and share with us.
Good morning. For a week out of the summer, our church has had the privilege of volunteering with ASP Appalachia Service Project, as we have for many years now. We traveled to Johnson County, Tennessee, where we helped build and fix homes for people that were in need of help and assistance. ASP is truly such an eye-opener. The families that are helped through this service project are genuinely grateful for everything we do for them. Sometimes they like to do little things for us. Like my first year, 2 years ago, our family made homemade chicken noodle soup for us. And this year, our family would make us cups of iced tea and stuff when we would get thirsty. The families that we help they're inviting and they're friendly, and being able to experience forming the bonds with them, with the parents, the kids, it's such a great experience that you can never forget. ASP not only helped the families, but it helped me and a lot of other kids find a career path that we wanted to head for. About 2 years ago, it was my first year of ASP, and if you asked me before, I would not have a single clue what I would want to do in my future or anything. And I was, like many others, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, especially because I was going into high school that year, and that's when you start finding your path and finding your future and just getting started. After I got home from that first ASP trip, my heart knew where I wanted to go. Ever since that first year, I knew I wanted to go down a construction pathway. I bounced back and forth every other month from being a carpenter to an architect to an interior designer and so on. But either way, my heart has been set on construction, and I couldn't be happier with what I'm trying to pick. Actually, since my first year was the summer before I started high school, I got to go into a construction academy that my high school, Bowie High, offers. It's a 4-year academy that teaches you construction and other stuff around it that relates to it, such as plumbing, HVAC, electricity. This academy also helps you get into internships that are very hard to get into, and my teacher actually just recently told me that I'm on the list to get an interview for it. Going to ASP also helps me with my career path because not only do I get to learn the designing aspects of construction in my school classes, but ASP shows me like the more building aspects of it. I've learned so much at ASP, like learning how to do drywall, putting in subflooring, framing, mudding, and just so much more. Every year I get to go is a new experience, and it's so cool because I get to learn about these things in class, and then I get to see them come alive in person. And being able to solve the problems like that really just makes me smile. Not only do I get to learn, but the experiences are just so great. My first year, the family I had so many animals, and their kids were great, and we would all play and just have a lot of fun. I know Bill Greaves just got to go fishing and paddle boating with one of the kids, and they were fishing, and it was fun. That's the beauty of ASP, because hanging out with everybody just puts a big smile on their face, and seeing that smile makes everything that we do worth it. ASP is something I get to do for as long as I can, because experiences like this are so unforgettable, and I hope to have great experiences like these for more years to come. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brett Padfield, and I'm a 9th grader at DeMatha High School. This past summer was my first time going to ASP, and it was everything I hoped it would be. As this was my first year, I was nervous to go. But when we arrived at the community center where we stayed, it all went away. When we got there, I quickly made friends with groups we were staying with, and we all got to know each other very well. At ASP, we are all separated into small groups, and each group worked at their own house. In my group, I had Chelsea, Olivia, Cora, and Ben, and together we were tasked to install flooring at our assigned house. On our first day, we met the owners of the house, Mrs. Betty and her son, Mr. Larry, who were very nice and appreciative of our work. Throughout the week, we installed new floors in the kitchen, living room, and hallway. During this time, I learned so much about installing floors. I also learned that even though everyone had their own specific job, without everyone working together, the overall job would never get finished. Also, I experienced how others who are not as fortunate as us live. One really cool thing that happened is that I was able to meet with people from other churches. I met some friends from a church from Georgia. It was nice to hang out with new people and share stories on what we did throughout the day. I still keep in touch with them, and I am glad to have met them through ASP. I think ASP is a great program because not only does it help others in need, it helps people like me learn new things. Overall, ASP was a great experience for me. I met new people, learned how to install floors, and helped others in need. I hope to go on an ASP mission again next year. Thank you.
When Chelsea told me that for my first mission trip we'd be going to DC, I honestly thought that we'd be doing a lot of relaxing, but boy was I wrong. The first day we got there, we made a bunch of bag lunches and then went to a small park to give them out to homeless men and women. And little did I know that was considered a chill day. The next day, we woke up bright and early to go to Charlie's Place, which is a soup kitchen that also hands out personal hygiene products. When we were there, I met a very nice man who was there for a meal. His name was Michael, and he was just a genuinely good guy. He was writing something while we were talking, but I didn't think much of it. When it was time to serve the food, I said my goodbyes and went to my station. Before we served the food, though, the woman in charge read aloud a prayer in the form of a poem. I saw the paper she was reading from, and I recognized the handwriting. It was Michael's handwriting. I didn't know why, but it made my day. I just thought that it was amazing that someone who had so little had such a great faith. Then we went to a place called DC Central Kitchen, where we prepared ingredients for that evening's meal. The next day, we woke up early again and went to another soup kitchen called So Others Might Eat. Here, we served and packaged a bunch of meals. The last place we went to was not a soup kitchen, but it was like a Goodwill store called Central Union Mission Center, where we sorted, folded, and hung up tons of clothes. From this experience, I've learned to be so much more grateful for what I have. Even when things may seem hopeless, God is always at work through people who care for others. This experience has taught me to make time for those who have less and need help. I'm thankful I went on this mission trip, and I'm very excited for the next.
Good morning. My name is Jocelyn. This was my second year attending the pilgrimage in DC. Last year was a very educational year for me. When I first went to Charlie's Place, I didn't have much of an understanding of what people experiencing homelessness are going through. I knew what the average person knew. They probably had some incident that caused them to lose their job and now live on the streets. So I went in feeling bad, but not really understanding. I served and then left. It didn't have much of an impact on me. Then, our last day there, a woman gave us a very educational guide around the poorer parts of DC. She explained how the endless cycle of homelessness works and how hard it is to pull yourself out of it, nearly impossible. A number she gave us was that 3 out of every 10 students actually make it past high school. Throughout the tour, she showed us that blocks away from the U.S. Capitol was blocked by a bunch of fancy apartments, and then it appeared to be a third world country. I left that trip understanding so much more about homelessness. My sympathy increased, and I wish I could have been more interactive with the homeless people that we served. This year, I returned with a higher expectation of my interactions with the people we served. I hardly expected to actually get the opportunity to talk to one of them. It all started one morning at the DC Youth pilgrimage. I was tired and grumpy and didn't feel like going to Charlie's place. We arrived, and Claire and I were assigned the job of going around and asking people we served if they would like to sign 2 birthday cards. I reluctantly grabbed the card and went to a table and asked if anyone would sign the cards. One man at the table quickly signed the card and then returned back to his coffee. The other man was writing something and turned to us with a big smile and said, "Sure." As he signed the card, he began asking us questions, how our day was going, who we were, where we came from, and questions like that. Then he began to talk about himself and any random subjects that came up. I was annoyed at first and started thinking, are you kidding me? This guy's going to talk for the next 20 minutes. Then he said a joke that got me laughing. I then realized that this had been my goal for this trip and that I should be enjoying this. I remembered what I had learned the year before and figured I might be making his day by listening to him. Then I began to relax and fell into his conversation, laughing at his jokes and answering his questions. By the time I was ready to leave, I had the pleasant realization that I had probably made his day and that he had definitely made mine. I began to realize that people experiencing homelessness are no different than me, and that while they may be homeless, they can still spread happiness just as easily as you and me.